Hey everyone, Evangeline right here at etrailer. Today we're going to be doing a review of the Benton LittleShift single bike rack. Now this has been a fan favorite here at etrailer. A lot of people really like how compact, lightweight, low profile it is while still being very functional. So if you're just looking for a good bike rack, especially for those days you need to sneak in a quick ride before work, this is all you're going to need. But if you're curious about how exactly it achieves all that functionality, well, stick around because we're going to get into the nitty-gritty details. We're going to nerd about bike racks. The first thing I always ask is, can this bike rack even carry your bikes? And chances are the LittleShift can. It has a weight capacity of 80 pounds, which is a lot. Great for those extra heavy electric bikes. And if you have a fat tire bike, as long as it's no wider than 4 inches, you're good. Just that blend of cradles, straps, and hook make it where it's really versatile for those different types of bikes. And I say that because I usually see mountain bikes here at the etrailer parking lot. We all like to go out for some trail rides, but sometimes people want to take their road bike. And there's this special feature here on the hook that allows that to happen for different types of bikes. Pretty much any good modern bike rack will be a wheel-mounted rack. And the reason for that is it's faster, it's easier, you've got really good support here on the front wheel. Some people have front and rear wheel mounts. As long as you secure this up by the fork, then you're good. However, some bikes, especially your beach cruiser style bikes, are gonna have fenders, and mounting your wheel mounts up front isn't as helpful because one little push and that's loose. So the LittleShift has the extra function of moving this hook on over to the frame. Now for a mountain bike, you are gonna have to make sure you secure this on the lowest part of your frame. You're gonna have to move this hook around until you find that spot for you. But in this position, this is gonna be extra helpful for those kids' bikes, those bikes with fenders, those step-through bikes with fenders. All of this works together to make for a functional rack no matter what type of bike you have. Working in the system are your wheel straps. Now you have a strap for the front and the rear wheel. It's not often you're gonna see a front strap, but the LittleShift has one because they know that you're gonna have extra heavy bikes on there. You're gonna have some weird situations, so now you have the support to support it. Now let's talk about no wobble, no worries. Every bike rack seems to have their own type of anti-wobble, anti-rattle, anti-movement, whatever they call it. The concept is, when you're driving down the road, you want as little movement behind you as possible. So the key thing here is because you have different methods of mounting your bike, you should pick whichever one works best for your bike. So if you feel like there's a good amount of movement there when you have it on the frame, go ahead, move this over onto your wheel, give it a good little tighten down, a good little shake, and then you'll be set. Now, not only does the bike rack hold onto your bike well because of those different straps and hook features, but the bike rack itself also has a no wobble or anti-wobble function. The LittleShift has a 2-inch shank with a slight rise. And this is unique because lots of single bike racks have an 1.25 inch smaller shank with an included 2-inch adapter. I like that this is just a 2-inch because that's where you really get your most stability. You don't get extra wobble from an adapter. Now the way this is secured is you have what Benton calls their D pin, and then they have this nut at the end that you tighten down with your included wrench, or you can use your own 3/4 wrench. So this is what that D pin looks like. You can see how has that normal pin around this to it, but it's gonna be flat on the other side. That way when you put it into the shank, this then doesn't turn because it locks into the rack, and all you need to do is focus on tightening that nut back on. You can also upgrade the pin with what I have here, which is the locking D pin, and that gives you the same anti-rattle experience, but you then have the option to lock it. So let's go for a ride to see how it performs out in our parking lot. Now with the bike rack and the bike loaded up, you can see it in the backup camera. This is something to be mindful of whenever you have any type of bike rack. Will you still be able to have visuals through your camera? The nice thing with the single bike carrier is we can see a lot through the bike. It's very compact, very low profile, really helpful when you need to maneuver around on your trips. Now, I've driven around with this for a couple weeks now, but driving around the parking lot, you can see some of the things that I experienced too. When we make sharp turns, everything stays together, stays nice and sturdy. And when we go on our bumps course, whether we have our alternating speed bumps, see some movement side to side, but nothing crazy. When I go up and down on our normal speed bumps, there is some up and down movement, but it really is more of as the vehicle moves, so does the bike rack, so does the bike. Nothing is out of the ordinary for a rack. It all looks really good, really sturdy. Even when I make sharp and sudden stops, while everything jerks back and forth, the bike rack looks pretty cool. Hopefully so far in this video, you've been able to see the different features in relation to your bike and be able to visualize how your bike fits on this rack, as well as how it'll interact with it as you are driving around. Now, what's impressed a lot of people as well is how the bike rack interacts with the vehicle when the bike is off, because chances are you're not going to want to remove this rack if it doesn't take up much space in the first place. So we're going to start by taking the bike off. Press the levers, lift up the strap, one strap there, and another strap over here. Once those straps are removed, you can then go up to that mount, press that button, lift up, push out, and now we can grab our bike and go. Now, many times at the trailhead, you'll see people with their racks out in this position. I always recommend moving that hook right back in so it's not sticking out if someone wants to park beside you. But even in this position, you can see how much less space this may take up compared to some larger, bulkier racks. If you're gonna do that, well, make sure to store the hook in a spot that's secure. You can secure it with a strap, or a lot of people like to secure it underneath your pivoting rear cradle. That's a good spot for it too. Just make sure that both of your straps are also secured so they're not flopping around as you drive around. And the reason a lot of people leave this on here is just because it takes up so little space. Taking some measurements, here at eTrailer, what we do, since every vehicle is different, is we measure from the center of the hitch pinhole, just because that's going to be a spot that you could find on any hitch receiver, and that'll help you figure out where this will sit with your car. From the center of the hitch pinhole to where the bike is going to sit, that's 15 inches away. That's going to be the center of the cradle. And then from the hitch pinhole to the end of the rack, by the end of this lever here, that's going to be 23 inches, so almost 2 feet. While that might sound a little bit like a lot, in all reality, that is much shorter than most bike racks, even your single bike ones. Here's a closer look at that slight shank rise, and this is important for vehicles like mine where the hitch sits so close to the ground you don't want to bottom out. But it's also not too high up where, let's say you have a truck or an SUV with a large hatch, it won't sit too high up where it'll get caught. You'll still be able to lower your tailgate with no problem. And finally, you have your bonus features. These are the features that aren't necessary for carrying around a bike, but they're really helpful since they're here. So these slots over here are going to be spots for your cable locks. They are going to be 3/4 inches in that open space there. So most cable locks should be able to fit right on through, and this is what you can use to secure your bike when you are parked. But also, more importantly, you have this big old hitch step. There's a really grippy tread to that hitch step, great when you need to step up and reach whatever you have on your roof. I personally go kayaking a lot. This is a really nice way to make sure everything is strapped down. I also rooftop tent camp, and this is how I would remove the cover for the tent. But those aren't the only things you can use this for. Some people like to use this as a sitting spot, especially if you have a taller vehicle and you need to switch out your shoes. You can do all of that right here. If it was just me going for a bike ride, The Benton LittleShift is pretty much all I would need. I can even leave it on my vehicle, take my bike around whenever I need to go for a ride, quick one before or after work, or along the weekend. If that was me though, I would go and invest in a hitch pin lock as well as a cable lock. You can get a key to leg set here at etrailer, by the way. Make sure you get one that's designed for D-shaped hitch pins, just like what we have here. Now, in all reality, it isn't just me going on a bike ride. Oftentimes, I need to carry around 2 or even 3 bikes, and the LittleShift is a single rack. So then I would recommend taking a look at the Benton Shifts and Grins. Same company, same style, both a frame mount and a wheel mount rack, has a pretty decent weight capacity. It is going to be a pretty heavy and hefty rack. However, it is one that grows with you where you can add on to get up to 4 bikes behind your car. But for those days when you don't need to take the whole crew and all your bikes with you, the Benton LittleShift is going to have all that you need for a great solo adventure, whether you're hitting the trails or riding on the road. So hopefully this video just really covered all the features of this rack, how it works, some things to consider, if it will fit on your bike, and that way you can see if it fits into your adventure. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us right here at etrailer. Whether you have a hitch on your vehicle or you still need to get one to carry on this bike rack, or you're looking at some suggestions for bike racks for your journey, we'd love to see what adventures you get up to, especially ones that you get up to with the Benton LittleShift. But you saw the full review right here at etrailer.com. My name is Evangeline. I hope you enjoyed this journey.